Hey guys, here we're going to learn about importing and exporting data in Microsoft Access. Now, sometimes the data that you need is actually not in Access. It is in a separate file, more often a file like this, an Excel file. Here we have an Excel workbook, and you can see that I've got all the data that I want to put into Microsoft Access. I don't want to work with it in Excel, I want to work with it in Access. If we look at our Access file, here it is here. At the moment in this database I only have one table. It's a table that contains a list of areas. That's it. Everything else that I need is here inside my Excel workbook. So how do I get this into Access? Well, it's actually easier than you think. Have a look here, guys. I'm going to close I'm going to close Excel. I'm going to close Excel and we are going to go back to Access. Here we go. So the first thing is we're going to go to our External Data tab. External Data, and I'm going to the Import group. Here it is here, my Import group. We're going to look at Export in a few minutes, but Import is first. Right, what am I going to import? Well, it's a new data source, so I click over there. Let's see what we have. We've got a couple of choices here. We have a file, database, online services, and other sources. We're going to choose from file. Fortunately for us, it is an Excel file, which is pretty handy. So I'm going to click on Excel. Great. Now let's follow this wizard. Wizards are always great. The file name, well, in other words, where is this file? So I'm going to browse. It's actually sitting on my desktop, so I'm going to quickly grab that. There it is there. Okay. And I've got a couple of choices here, and I'm going to explain the difference between the two now. The first one says import the source data into a new table in the current database, which is what we want to do this time around, because we can't import it into this table. That table is not the right table. So we're going to create a brand new table with all the records imported right away. If we had a table that already existed with the headings or the fields that we needed, then I would append a copy to that table. Not the table areas table in this situation. It would be a different table. Okay, don't get lost at this point. That's what append means. Append a copy is to append it, add it onto another table, an existing table. But that will only work if you have the exact same fields and everything matches up. That's very important. Okay. In this situation, just because it's the first time we're doing this, we're going to import the source data into a new table in the current database. So we're going to take this Excel workbook and put it into a new table. Right, let's click on OK, see what happens next. Okay, so it has identified that there are at least 3 different worksheets within this workbook, consultants, commission, and areas, and you can click on them to see what we have. I'm just working with the consultants one. That's the one I want to import, and it shows me the data that it is found inside that workbook. Great, perfect, no problem. Next. Right, this is important. The first row contains column headings, and yes, it does. Okay, that is important because in Excel, if you do not have headings in your top row, row number 1, then you mustn't have that selected. Do you see what it does? It will treat that as a record, okay, which we don't want to do now. The first row does contain column headings, and you can see the difference. When I deselect that, it treats it like a record, which is wrong. But if I put that on, okay, there are my field names, first name, last name, ID number, all the field names, because that is what it was like in the Excel worksheet. Okay, great. Click on Next. Right, now it says you can specify information about each of the fields. We don't worry too much about this step. It is more if you want to go and make sure that every single field is the correct data type. Okay, that's important. You can do that here, or you can do it once you've imported your data. That is up to you and how your teacher is going to teach you how to do this. I just say, you know what, we're happy with this. Let's just keep going. Next. Okay, the primary key. Now, I do have an ID. Let's just take that off for the moment. No primary key. I do have an ID column, all right? And yes, that can actually be a primary key. Sometimes you might not have a suitable field that is a primary key. So you know what? Let Access add a primary key, or if you do have a field that is a suitable primary key, you can then choose one. So in my situation for this table, the primary key, the ID, is going to be the best primary key. Okay, so I'm going to let Access not add a primary key. I'm going to add a primary key, and I'm going to let it use the ID field that's already there. If you didn't have a suitable field, let Access add a primary key. Otherwise, no primary key, which is not recommended. Okay, so I'm going to say choose my own primary key, and I'm going to make sure it uses the ID field. Again, if I didn't have the ID field, you would say, you know what, let Access add a primary key, and then it does it automatically. You can do that to be safe. All right, let's see what's next. Right, what do we want to call this table? You know, let's just call it consultants. That makes sense to me. And we click on finish, and let's see what happens. Save, import it. No, we don't have to save the steps. We're done now. Click on close, and let's have a look. There is consultants. I'm going to open that up, consultants, and you can see it has imported all of the fields. The field names are there, and it has imported all of the data that I need. If you see something like this, like it's got import errors, normally that has to do with a data type that Access can't recognize or doesn't know what to do with it, and then it gets stuck. So it just puts it in a separate little table. Don't worry about that for now. The most important thing is that you are able to import an Excel workbook into Access, into a new table, and that's what that looks like. If I wanted to export this now, okay, super easy, guys. I'm still here on external data. I go to my export group here. There it is there. I can choose to export this as an Excel file, a text file, a PDF file. I can do a mail merge with this if I wanted to. There are more options there as well. So if I wanted to export this table, a table in Microsoft Access as an Excel file, well, it's pretty easy. External data, in my export group, choose Excel, tell it where you would like it to go. I'm going to pop it on my desktop for now. The file format is an Excel workbook. Click OK. Don't save any steps. Close. Let's have a look and see what it looks like. I'm going to open it up. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It's on my other screen. There we go. And there it is. There it is. This has now been imported from my Access database instead. And there you go, guys. Importing and exporting in Microsoft Access.